Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions. The mystery of the WOW signal source. 45 years later, we still don't know who sent it. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction. Not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. On August 15, 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a signal so extraordinary that the astronomer reviewing the data simply wrote one word in red ink beside it: wow. In nearly 5 decades since, no one has satisfactorily explained what it was, where it came from, or why it has never been heard again. The signal arrived at precisely the frequency that physicists had long predicted an intelligent civilization might use to broadcast across the galaxy. 1420 megahertz, the natural emission frequency of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. It was 30 times stronger than the background noise of space. It lasted exactly 72 seconds, the precise duration the Big Ear telescope could observe a single patch of sky as Earth rotated. It came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, and then it was gone. In the years since, the source region has been swept by the most sensitive radio telescopes ever built: Arecibo, the Very Large Array, Breakthrough Listen, the Murchison Wide Field Array. Not once has anything resembling the WOW signal been detected again. Every mundane explanation proposed has collapsed under scrutiny. The original Big Ear Observatory was demolished in 1998 for a golf course. The signal it found has outlasted it. So what sent it? This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the expanding frontier of unexplained cosmic phenomena, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Space exploration has produced many surprises, but perhaps none as persistent as the anomalies that professional scientists describe and then struggle to explain. These are not the claims of amateur enthusiasts or fringe theorists. They are the published findings of researchers at NASA, the European Space Agency, and major research universities, documented in peer-reviewed journals and presented at professional conferences, then quietly filed under requires further investigation while the scientific mainstream moves on to the next mission. The anomalies take different forms: unexpected geological features on planetary surfaces that do not match known formation processes, electromagnetic signals that arrive from directions where no known source exists, orbital mechanics of small bodies that deviate from T. Predictions of established gravitational models in ways that suggest an additional, undetected force. Each individual anomaly might be dismissed as an instrument artifact or a modeling error. But when anomalies accumulate across multiple missions, multiple instruments, and multiple research teams, the collective weight becomes harder to discount. Science advances precisely by taking anomalies seriously, by treating the things that do not fit the model as invitations to improve the model rather than as embarrassments to be minimized. The history of physics is largely a history of anomalies: the precession of Mercury that Newtonian gravity could not explain, the cosmic expansion that Einstein refused to accept, the dark matter that bends light with no visible source. Each one, properly investigated, expanded the boundaries of what we understand. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades, and patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter, the core evidence surrounding the WOW signal source. 45 years later, we still don't know who sent it is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. Jerry Amon was a volunteer researcher at Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Observatory when he examined the signal on August 15, 1977, not in real time, but while reviewing days-old computer printout data. He circled the alphanumeric sequence 6EQUAGE5 and wrote WOW in the margin, creating the most famous annotation in the history of SETI. The observatory was demolished in 1998 to make way for a golf course. The signal it recorded has never been explained. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes, but as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly, it is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the signal lasted exactly 72 seconds, not because it transmitted for that duration, but because 72 seconds is the maximum time Big Ear's fixed-dish design could observe any single point as Earth rotated. The signal filled the entire observation window perfectly, consistent with a genuine point source fixed in the sky. Exactly the profile a transmission from a distant stellar system would be expected to produce given that telescope's known characteristics. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this. And that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine the frequency of the signal 1420, 4556 MHz, is the emission frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. Physicists proposed in 1959 that this frequency, known as the cosmic watering hole, would be the logical channel for interstellar communication. Any technologically capable civilization would independently know it, making it a universal frequency that transcends all cultural and linguistic barriers between worlds. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, signal strength at reception was approximately 30 times greater than ambient background noise, an extraordinarily strong reading. Big Ear's sensitivity was well characterized, and no known natural astrophysical phenomenon in the direction of Sagittarius could account for a signal of that intensity at that precise frequency. It remains the highest signal-to-noise ratio event ever recorded in the history of SETI radio astronomy and has never been equaled. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the signal appeared to originate from the direction of Sagittarius, a region dense with stars toward the galactic center. Big Ear used 2 feed horns, observing slightly different sky positions simultaneously. The WOW signal appeared in only one horn and not the other, consistent with a real point source traversing the beams as Earth rotated. This single horn detection rules out most categories of local radio frequency interference, which would affect both horns. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. Despite over 400 dedicated follow-up observations of the source region by Big Ear and subsequent searches by the Very Large Array, Arecibo, Breakthrough Listen, and the Murchison Widefield Array, the signal has never recurred. In 2022, the MWA conducted the most sensitive targeted search of the WOW source region ever attempted using modern broadband receivers and detected nothing. The 1977 signal remains entirely unexplained after 45 years of searching. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the WOW signal source. 45 years later, we still don't know who sent it. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the signal was a genuine transmission from an extraterrestrial intelligence. This remains the most discussed explanation and has never been ruled out scientifically. Its characteristics match almost exactly what SETI researchers predicted an alien broadcast might look like. Narrowband, at the hydrogen frequency, strong. From a fixed sky point, the SETI Institute considers it the strongest candidate for a detected extraterrestrial signal in the entire history of the search program. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence. But it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that astronomer Antonio Paris proposed in 2016 that hydrogen clouds surrounding comets 266/P Christensen and P/2008 Y2 Gibbs passed through the signal location in 1977. This was quickly rebutted. Orbital calculations showed neither comet was anywhere near the signal location in August 1977, and comets emit broadband hydrogen, not the coherent narrowband 1420 MHz signal that characterized the WOW event. Robert Dixon and other radio astronomers published detailed rebuttals within months. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that the signal was a natural but as yet unknown astrophysical phenomenon, some undiscovered class of radio emitter capable of producing a narrowband hydrogen frequency burst of high intensity from a fixed sky position. This hypothesis is scientifically respectable, but faces a fundamental problem. No such astrophysical object class has ever been identified, and the signal's narrowband nature is considered a strong marker of artificial origin by radio astronomers worldwide. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree, that is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the WOW signal source, 45 years later, we still don't know who sent it, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the signal's technical characteristics collectively match the predicted profile of an artificial extraterrestrial transmission almost perfectly. Narrowband emission at the hydrogen frequency, source fixed in the sky, strength far above background, and duration consistent with Earth's rotatio. N-rate, no known natural phenomenon, produces all these features simultaneously. The combination has never been explained by any astrophysical source in the literature and remains genuinely anomalous in the 4 decades since its detection. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented the 72-second duration precisely matches what a signal from a fixed stellar source would produce given Big Ear's beam pattern and Earth's rotation rate. A terrestrial radio frequency interference source would not produce this profile. It would persist across multiple beam sweeps. The single beam, single pass signature is strong evidence for a real extraterrestrial point source rather than local interference, satellite transmission, or atmospheric reflection of a ground source. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the Paris Comet hypothesis was tested against historical orbital data and refuted by multiple researchers. The proposed comets were not in the correct sky position in August 1977. The 2022 Murchison Wide Field Array targeted search used receivers capable of detecting signals far weaker than the original and found nothing. The absence of any repeat detection across 45 years of observation either indicates a one-time event, a directional beam not currently aimed at Earth, or a transmission on a repetition cycle longer than our listening window. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the WOW signal source 45 years later. We still don't know who sent it. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past, with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The WOW signal remains the strongest unresolved candidate for a detected extraterrestrial radio transmission in the 60-year history of organized SETI. The 2022 Murchison Wide Field Array search was the most sensitive ever conducted on the source region. Still nothing. Breakthrough Listen, the $100 million initiative backed by Yuri Milner, continues scanning with unprecedented sensitivity. Big Ear is a golf course. If the signal was an alien transmission, it was either a directional beam that swept past Earth once, a leakage signal from another civilization's internal communications, or part of a pattern on a timescale far longer than our civilization has been listening. The mystery is genuine, unresolved, and unlike most historical anomalies, remains scientifically open. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the WOW signal source. 45 years later, we still don't know who sent it, from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of WOW signal ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.